Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, when there is a power vacuum, especially in a place like Nigeria where there is so much wealth up for grabs, the scramble to fill that vacuum is fierce and intense, with all sorts of plotting and scheming and backstabbing and everything that goes on to occupy that space. So of course, with the passing on of Abba Kyari, there is a power vacuum now within that Aso Rock space, and there's a need now to fill that spot quickly. Not the spot of the chief of staff, of course, which is not really the spot that Abba Kyari occupies, but the spot of de facto president, the person that is going to guide Buhari to his own or their own self-interest. So this is the slot now that has been opened up, and the scramble to fill that spot is intense and fierce. As guys, I bring you this. Aso Rock, a new force tries to dismantle the Cabal. So there's already movement now because the head has been chopped off the Cabal. The head, of course, being Abba Kyari. Femi Fani-Kayode will have you have it that Abba Kyari is not the head of the Cabal, but to the general understanding of Nigerians, Abba Kyari is the head of the Cabal and the de facto president of Nigeria. So now that he has now moved on, and with everybody knowing that Malam Buhari is receptive to being manipulated because it's of a low cranial function and is physically debilitated, so now they scramble to fill that Abba Kyari, de facto president, chief influencer of Buhari, and by extension now the real president of the country. The scramble for that spot is gaining momentum. So again, the headline: Aso Rock, a new force tries to dismantle the Cabal. So now let's now see what our palace intrigues is going on within the villa. A fresh power play is covertly in place in the presidential villa, with a new force trying to dismantle the hitherto powerful cell, otherwise called the Cabal. Since the illness and eventual death of the late chief of staff, Malam Abba Kyari, it has been difficult for some members of the Cabal. Besides the redeployment of the permanent secretary of the State House, Mr. Jalal Arabi, the access accreditation tag of a prominent member, name withheld, was withdrawn to enable the power broker apply as a visitor. A candidate nominated by the secretary of the Cabal to coordinate an agency was removed, and most members do not have first-hand information of the goings-on in the villa again, because of course the information was being funneled to them by Abba Kyari, who is no longer with us. A source disclosed that a new force is emerging and everyone is being careful to avoid belonging to a wrong camp. There will be more details later in the coming weeks on those now calling the shots. So now there's a recalibration, as I said, now within that Aso Rock space, because you have to imagine what's up for grabs within that space. We've already discussed and agreed that Malam Buhari does not have the physicality or the mental capacity to really function as the Nigerian president. Not that he ever did, even when he was in his prime, or even when he was the military head of state. He never really had he had that physical capacity there, but he never at any point in time had the mental capacity to be president of anything. So, but of course, brute force, that's the thing that he uses to get his way. So now the window of opportunity that is now opening now, because a lot of people have seen how easily Abba Kyari was able to manipulate and cajole this Malam Buhari guy and capture all of the powers of the Nigerian state, to the point that the vice president of Nigeria also had to be reporting to Abba Kyari. So if the vice president is reporting to a person, then that person has to be the president, because there is nobody that should be above the vice president other than the president. So if the vice president is reporting to anybody, then that person is in effect and effectively the president. So now that is now the spot that is opening up now within the Nigerian space. The space for president, the presidential office is now what has been opened up by the passing on of Abba Kyari, and of course everybody wants to be the president. At least every Nigerian wants to be the president of the country. So the jostling now for that position now is really thick and fast and fierce. So now these movements now are surreptitious, of course. And by the way, don't be too hung up on the fact that it's going to be only the Malamis, because I'm sure Tinubu and his people are plotting their things. The Igbo quarters are plotting their things, the Hausas are plotting their things, and the Fulanis are plotting their things. So within all of that mix, of course, a champion will emerge, and that champion that emerges will be made manifest and brought to light, and will be the next president. Effectively, is what I am saying, is whoever then goes on to occupy that position of chief of staff, because the chief of staff to the president reports to the president almost on a minute-by-minute basis, and of course then he's the person that is best able to capture his mind and in effect seize control of the country, because Malam Buhari is quite malleable. I read somewhere once that the opinion that Malam Buhari is going to express will be the opinion of the last person that last spoke to him. So if you want to move Buhari in your direction, to your will, just make sure that let everybody go first, and then you go later and come up with a clever narrative to present to him, and he goes with that. So this, of course, is what Abba Kyari knows. This is why he then, of course, put all that roadblock in the way to access Malam Buhari. So you recall that during the inauguration of the ministers, Malam Buhari said then that any and everybody has to come through the chief of staff first. So effectively, he has put himself as a gatekeeper between Malam Buhari and the rest of the government, and to the point then that this Abba Kyari was actually signing directives not on behalf of the president but solely in his own name, and instructing upper echelons of governance. There was this particular letter that is sent to the House of Representatives that irritated that house so much that they leaked it to the press. And this is, of course, in the build-up to this C19, at least in the early stages of the C19. Abba Kyari sent a letter to the House of Representatives alerting to the fact that there were some representatives traveling abroad and coming back into the country, into Nigeria, and not quarantining or quarantining themselves as is required by the Nigerian policy. He then directed that the lead of the House of Representatives, Bajabi Amila, should direct and instruct his office, his house, the House of Reps, should direct and instruct the representatives to comply with the policy. But then, of course, the tone of that letter was quite brusque and brisk and quite abrupt. And also, the one thing that irritated the most the House of Representatives in that letter was that at no point in that letter, in that memo, did Abba Kyari said that he was speaking on behalf of the president. So he did not say that I am directed by the president to say, or he did not say that it has come to the office, to the attention rather of the office of the president or the president. There was nothing in reference to the president in that memo, and it was all about him and what he has to say. And karma, they say, is a bitch. So karma is a bitch. So now this thing that Abba Kyari was writing to the House of Representatives on to rebuke them in his capacity as the de facto president of Nigeria, this thing that he was writing to them about and telling them off on is the same thing now that has led to his demise, because this guy, of course, went to Egypt and Germany, came back to Nigeria, and did not quarantine himself as is required by the Nigerian policy. He did not wait to be checked at the airport. He just breezed through, like the VIP, like, because of course, I mean, he's the president, so why should he even pay attention to anyone? So he just brisked through and then just went about his day, shaking hands with everybody and infecting half of the governance of Nigeria with the C-19 that he brought back from Egypt or Germany, and this of course then eventually led to his demise. So the double standards. But going back to the main body of this video, the main narrative, the window of opportunity has now opened up within that Aso Rock for the de facto president of Nigeria, and the scramble for that post is intense and it's fierce. Conversations in the comment section. The shadowy figures are coming in to replace the cabal. So it's all intrigues and plots within the Nigerian space rather than governance. So you hear more about intrigues and plots and scheming and stealing within the Nigerian space than actual government or governance or development. There's nothing about development that you hear within the Nigerian space. It's all about backstabbing, jostling for power, stealing money, and everything else. So another round of looters now are looking to come replace the present round of looters. So who do you think they are? Do you have names? Come tell me what you're making of all this. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me now who you think the next president of Nigeria will be. If you have a name, let's discuss it in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.